Chapter 2. The Client.
"You have been purchased."
Those words still ring in my ears, still fill me with despair. At the time, there was also disbelief and shock. I remember thinking, that is not possible. No one buys an archivist. And my face must have betrayed me.
"Oh yes, the deal is complete and final. Unusual, to be sure, but not unheard of. You are to depart Citadel in the morning."
Elder Silas's face was hidden beneath a mostly gray beard, and his eyebrows shaded his eyes, which did not look up from the many papers covering the ledger on his desk. He lifted the topmost sheet, and I could see a gold wax seal with the sigil of Citadel imprinted on the surface.
"Whereas the Council of Nine of the venerate Citadel has met and conferred with the supplicant and client, Sir Lucian of Haven, and whereas said supplicant and client has produced evidence tangible of his body corporeal and illimited by deed or oath, and whereas said supplicant and client has made fair offers of trade in property both real and personal, and whereas the Council of Nine of the aforementioned Citadel have agreed in unanimity to the rightful terms of said trade, and whereas Archivist Wren of Citadel, holding the rank of wordwright, being a body corporeal and limited by bonds hypothecate to the aforementioned Citadel, therefore let Archivist Wren of Citadel, holding the rank of wordwright, be hereby remanded to the custody and rightful ownership of one Sir Lucian of Hafen, and let the bonds hypothecate to Citadel and the guilds be severed irrevocably and without prejudice, and transferred to those of the aforementioned supplicant and client for a term undetermined or until such time as is decided by writ or law."
I barely heard the words as he recited them, lost in my disbelief. But I can easily recall them now, as I had many opportunities in the days ahead to scan the parchment. Hypothecate, irrevocably, corporeal, undetermined. I do not know for how long we sat across from each other in silence after his pronouncements. I recall feeling numb and thinking odd thoughts like,
"The metallics of his robe have worn around the collar, and I wonder how old that desk is. The wood grain is unusual."
In the few years that I had been a wordsmith under his remote tutelage, these were the most words he had spoken to me directly, and I had not been listening.
"Wren!"
He was looking at me directly now, his green eyes narrowed with apparent concern, making the lines of his face pronounced and livid.
"This is an opportunity. There is cause for optimism. A man should not confine himself to those archives as you have. He should embrace all the world has to offer. When was the last time you left the Citadel?"
In all honesty, I had never left the grounds. I felt certain that he knew this.
"Not recently, sir."
He leaned back in his chair.
"The world cannot be experienced through books alone. There is only so much knowledge that can be gleaned through mere words. The most descriptive and exhaustive elaboration on the nature of love and attraction, the most moving of poetics on the subject, is a pale, shadowy reflection of a simple kiss."
The words seemed hollow to me. He had not been sold to a client like a trinket from the quartermaster. I was suddenly angry.
"We are not soldiers. We are not medicos. We are archivists. Why would anyone want us outside of Citadel? There is no sense to it."
He seemed to have expected this outburst, and had a ready answer.
"Ours is not to question why. Ours is but to try and fly."
It sounded wrong to me, and I could not say why, and it made me more angry.
"Fly? How am I supposed to fly when I've been shackled to some client I've never met?"
His eyes lost the seeming concern, and his brow furrowed. His words were sharp, pointed.
"What do you know of shackles, boy? When have you felt iron against that pale skin of yours? The metal digging deep, rubbing raw."
He stood suddenly, moving fast around the desk to my chair, and lifted his robe past his calves. His left leg was an old man's leg, thin and bristled, except where a thick band of scar tissue wrapped around the ankle. He dropped the robe again and leaned too close to me, his breath sour in my nose.
I will tell you this, and perhaps you will have the sense to absorb it. My days in shackles were a blessing. I earned those shackles, make no mistake, and at that time I too bemoaned my fate. I feared the uncertain future and regretted my past. But they taught me many lessons as well. They taught me that there are repercussions to our actions, fair or not. They taught me that fears and regrets are fantasies, luxuries to be indulged in for those that are not in pain. Those shackles told me that I am not the only person on this earth, and that the world turns with or without me in it. But most of all, he said, lowering his voice and leaning in closely, intimately, I learned my true worth in this world, and that I wanted to be a part of it.
With that he retreated, slowly, never taking his eyes from me, and I, speechless, no longer angry, suddenly knew what he was going to give me. He seated himself at his desk again, the worn wood chair creaking even under his own slight weight, and he pulled open the center drawer.
I am instructed to give this to you.
He lifted a dark shape that I have never seen the like of, held it in his hand, seeming to weigh it. Then he leaned over the desk to pass it to me. It was made of the same black glass as the Citadel's outer walls.